10 years to the day. NXT arrival for SCW Rewind here today. Can you believe this show is a decade ago? Can you believe the WWE Network has been going for 10 years as well? The first ever show on the WWE Network. Of course, it wasn't WrestleMania 30. They made sure it was NXT arrival. And of course, I myself, Steve, I'm joined by the one, the only Mr. NX Steve, the perfect person to review this show with me. NX Steve, your overall thoughts of NXT arrival in 2014?
My question for you is: do you reckon this was meant to be just a one-off, or was it that good that it's the whole reason why they started doing takeovers? Really, because it's an okay show, but I'd be very surprised if if they hadn't already thought of doing pay-per-views for NXT, because this isn't exactly the greatest show on the earth. It's got a couple of good matches, but yeah, I'd like to think that they'd already planned to do takeovers afterwards, without this being the standard that they went by.
It feels like they were testing the waters massively when you look back at this, because obviously it's Full Sail University, only 400 people plus in attendance. It's not the highest attendance in the world. Obviously, this was going to become the home of NXT and a lot of their early takeovers as well. And of course, like you say, we're in Full Sail, we're in Orlando, and it's something for me where I look at it and it's like they're trying something out. It's the tester show for WrestleMania 30. This brand new platform they had, obviously the WWE Network, and it was like, WWE Network better than Netflix is what they said was the tagline in the early days. Funny how they think about it a decade later. We're moving to Netflix in 2025, but in the same breath, when you look at it, this show obviously was just that if something goes wrong, it's an NXT, it's a starting base, and we'll take it from there. And obviously, being in the UK, when we watched this for the first time and not having the network, we got it on Sky at the time. We were given just an hour special. We wasn't given the full show. We was given the Cesaro versus Sami Zayn match. We was given the Paige versus Emma match for the NXT Women's Championship, and we were given Adrian Neville versus Bo Dallas in a ladder match for the NXT Championship. All the other matches were not included in the show, but obviously we are doing the full version here, the full 6 match card. So for the other matches, for people who can score, it's Mojo Rawley versus CJ Parker. We've got the Ascension versus mystery opponents for the NXT tag team titles. We'll reveal them later if you don't know them. And then Xavier versus Tyler Breeze, which let's be honest, very quickly, those matches probably the right ones to skip, really.
To be fair, I didn't mind the Ascension one. I actually like the Ascension as a tag team, but I was confused as well, because when I looked on the network, I was like, why is there 2 of the same? One's an hour long, one's 2 hours long, but yet no difference, because they both have the same bio, same description. And now I know why. But it's just do you know what? I forgot that the States had the network for 6-7 months before we did. So yeah, just a complete weird one to throw it back and think about that. But yeah, it's look, the other 2 matches, they're not exactly they're not great, are they? But I didn't mind the tag team one. I like the Ascension, and I'm sitting there if I was thinking about it when I was watching them, I was like, do you know what? I think they'd actually go down well today if they hadn't been buried their first time around on the main roster.
Yeah, they had a horrible arrival to the main roster, obviously. Arrival, pun intended. But at the same time, though, if we just quickly go into it, what would be your favorite match of this show, just before we go and break it down match by match?
Oh, it's hard to not go with Sami Zayn versus Cesaro. It was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's an absolute banger, and it's the first match of the show as well, and we get to talk about it in a couple of moments' time, and I'm really excited to do so. But just before we do, let's go into the comments section. Pierre in-house nice and says, 10 years later, and we still are NXT. You got to love that there from Pierre there. And he says, which NXT crowd is the best, Full Sail or the Performance Center? I mean, Full Sail was very special when you look back at some of the history of NXT.
It's always going to be Full Sail for me. For me, the Performance Center crowd is very. It almost feels like they're paid to be there, if I'm honest. I've never felt it since they went to 2.0. I've never been a big fan of the crowd. They feel like they're paid to sit in the crowd, and I'm not a big fan of it. Some of the segments they do and some of the chants they do, I'm not all for it. But it's always Full Sail for me.
Yeah, Full Sail for me as well. Ed Fry's in the house as well, says Full Sail as well. Bets in his mind. Himself and Astrid actually reviewed this show just recently as well. So crazy how the early shows are just an appetizer of what TakeOver will become. And that's a fantastic point that I'd like to definitely touch on towards the end of the video as well. But Shay, sorry in house as well. Shay, hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining us. As I find the PC crowd to be a tad obnoxious sometimes, if I'm honest. And you know, I kind of have to agree with that as well. Full Sail would just, I don't know, it felt a bit more organic, I suppose, how it was to how we see it today.
Yeah, absolutely. There's like I know I'd watch other podcast reviewers and they would have people in their lives that were actually part of the Full Sail crowd, and they would talk about, like, there was one person in particular who'd be on a certain podcast and she'd always feed these guys with, because obviously it was a taped thing, she'd always feed them spoilers and stuff, but it just felt like it was a proper, almost like a family sort of atmosphere with Full Sail. Whereas, yeah, like I said before, the PC just always felt just like paid for, like almost like it was a soundboard audience. Do you know what I mean? Like someone's holding up a sign saying applause, someone's saying up a sign saying boo now. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, indeed. There. Well, I'll tell you what, without further ado, I agree with all of those points, by the way, of how you just put that over there. So Full Sail definitely gets the dub there. So that's a great question that's coming starting early this one. But let's dive in then to that review nice and early, because we'll say 6 matches to go through. And of course, just like really any good NXT show starts off with, of course, you have the show being blackout, the lights coming on, Triple H in the ring. You know, we are NXT. This is the next generation, and the next generation has arrived, followed by that classic NXT intro package. I'm not going to lie to you, obviously very short, very brief to open the show up, but I was very hyped to hear that music again from NXT, the original opening show for that weekly TV show they had.
This show just brought back so many memories when it came to the music alone. Like Xavier Woods, we'll talk about it later, which I found hilarious. But even things like the Ascension's music, I was like, what a banger. Paige's tune, what a banger. Sami Zayn's was like, I can't ever remember that one, so that was all new to me. But yeah, just even the like I said, even the intro package for this show, like I'm pretty sure I had this on my Spotify until obviously everything went down with CFO $. So yeah, absolute banger of a tune.
Absolutely, indeed. There were so there were some great songs that are involved on this one. Absolutely, indeed. There, but we mentioned it's the match that we are most excited to talk about. What we thought was the match of the night. So let's kick off with it. Cesaro against Sami Zayn. Of course, as it's a review, we'll give you the results straight away. Cesaro does pick up the victory in this match now. But what a match between these two! Just the fact that these two know each other so well by this point. Because in 2013, they have the match of the year on NXT at 2 out of 3 falls. It's absolutely spectacular. If you haven't seen it, go and check that on the network as well, or Peacock, or probably in the future Netflix, wherever you can get your WWE content, your NXT content. Make sure to go and do so. But just to go through, like, even the early stages of this match, Sami attempts a hurricanrana. He's caught by Cesaro, and it looks like Cesaro's going to go for his classic swing at the start of the match. But then Sami looks to try and counter that, and in that sort of process, Cesaro decides he's going to flip Sami Zayn back over to his feet. At that point, then Sami does an arm drag to Cesaro and does a dive over the top rope to the floor. This is all within like the first 2 minutes of the match. Unbelievable stuff. And yeah, I mean, it just set the tone of what we were going to get.
Yeah, I mean, looking at Sami now and then, it's like a complete, it proper messes with your head. Obviously, he's got a different hairstyle. His physique isn't what it is as it was 10 years ago. Even his ring attire, like being as retro as it is, with like that traveled design, like all them flags and stuff on his trousers. Like I remember, like for years he would wear them, and yeah, like you said, the athleticism as well. Like I don't think he'd be able to do something like that. It was, let's say, very eye-opening and shocking to see, and remembering that these are the things that Sami Zayn used to be able to do.
Absolutely, yeah, it was incredible to sort of see that throwback and the transition of what Sami was to what he is now. And obviously, like you say, for me, I loved the ring attire he had back then. Like I say, all the flags on it, where he'd been across the world and stuff, and just showed that humble respect to where he'd been and what he'd become. Was really awesome and stuff. And that's pretty much what this match comes down to, by the way, where Sami Zayn's been, where he's becoming. It's all about respect. He wants Cesaro's respect. He wants to show we can hang with Cesaro one more time in this match, because he had a leg injury as well. Apparently going into the show, had not been wrestling for a couple of months, which of course was said on commentary. Of course, the commentary team of that night, by the way, Tom Phillips, Byron Saxton, and William Regal on commentary. I've got to say, Tom Phillips, a baby face, definitely in that one there. Certainly could do with an ID sitting in that booth.
Yeah, do you know what I actually thought about that as well? Was like he doesn't look like he hasn't established a like I don't know if it's the same for you, but like as I got older, I've discovered like my hairstyle that I should have, and I've discovered the facial hair that I should have. Whereas 10 years ago, like, do you know what I mean? I was clean shaven, and I look at photos of me now and I'll be like, nope, can't do it no more. And I imagine Tom Phillips is doing the exact same thing. He probably looks at himself and stuff like that and goes, I can't believe I used to wear and dress and present myself like that on a nationally broadcast show. Do you know what I mean?
It's good stuff indeed, absolutely. And yeah, shout out to Tom Phillips as well. They do a great job on commentary. We'll discuss some more as the evening goes on. But of course, Cesaro takes advantage, by the way, as the action spills to the floor. However, Sami does counter when his leg is wrapped around the ring post, which said Cesaro would target that injured leg during this match. Sami then actually runs from the floor and tries to do a dive through sort of like where the turnbuckle is. There's like the corner ring ropes. He tries to dive through to do a tornado DTD. Something he'd done in the 2 out of 3 falls match, but Cesaro counters this with an uppercut, and it's a brutal looking uppercut as well.
Yeah, his European uppercuts were just a highlight of this match. Like every time he connected with them, the sound alone, and especially being in that small enclosed arena, just made them sound a hell of a lot worse than what they probably are. But yeah, that dive through the ropes is obviously one of Sami's like old school traditional moves where he do that tornado DDT. But like I said, that European uppercut, it was special this night. Like it just said, every time he did it, there's numerous amount of times as the match progresses on where he keeps doing it, and it's one of his best moves. And it's like I almost get like withdrawal symptoms from the fact that I don't see it as much as I used to when he used to be like on WWE, for example.
Absolutely, yeah. To be fair, it was always special to see, wasn't it? And obviously, once Cesaro had taken advantage in the match, like I say, he was taking advantage of that bad leg of Sami, which he did like moves like wrapping it around the knee ring post as well, attacking the leg and the knee, hitting a perfect dragon screw as well, and a single leg Boston crab as well. But it was an opportunity that Sami could get back into the match there. He did like a sort of springboard moonsault, pretty much the leg sort of on the top rope, flipping to the floor. But Cesaro catches Sami and slams him on the ramp as well. It just felt like anything that Sami had, Cesaro had a counter for, and every single time it looked so impressive as well. I mean, this is like we say NXT sort of developmental. Cesaro had never an opportunity to show himself off like he'd had these sort of stages here at this point on the main roster in WWE.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I suppose this is like. I think this is also when people started turning around and favoring Cesaro a lot more because, like you said, like we never really seen his proper European style of wrestling. We'd only ever seen sort of generic wrestling, and like especially the fact at this point as well, he's doing that stupid "We Are the People" or whatever it is gimmick, and he's with Zeb Coulter and Jack Swagger, my favorite wrestler in the world at this time. Yeah, it was an absolutely shambles of a gig, but like I said, I'm glad that he went on to do better things after this, and like he was able to just actually show what he can do in a ring.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, like I say, spectacular stuff as well. And along with Sami Zayn also in this match. And obviously, as we move on, obviously, we see an exploder suplex from Sami into the corner to Cesaro. Of course, Sami then lands his blue thunderbomb, gets a 2 count near fall. Sami has a submission move on Cesaro, but is countered into a stretch muffler, which William Regal goes crazy for, by the way. Cesaro lands the swing then on Sami also. So to answer that in the comments, yes, Cesaro is doing the swing at this time. Sami then goes for a Hurricanrana to Cesaro off the top rope. Cesaro catches him and then looks to try and do a powerbomb. It's sort of style powerbomb that he was doing on the indies with the arms tied behind the back there for Sami. But then it's countered again in mid-air to land a Hurricanrana. Absolutely unbelievable spot in this match here. Sami follows this with a haluva kick as well. And believe it or not, Cesaro still kicks out to an unbelievable sequence.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell why Sami had such a cult following from when he first came up to the main roster when he's doing stuff like this. Because like, just a great show. Like, again, it's a shame that he can't do athletically some of the stuff that he was doing now because it's not like it almost feels like again Sami was maybe 5 years too early for the generation he should have been part of. Like, can you imagine if he was part of NXT in 2017, 2018, 2019, and if he was doing that kind of stuff with the likes of like Adam Cole and Ricochet and stuff like that, he'd be an absolute killer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a good question because Sammy's kind of like one of those original indie guys that broke through, like with the NXT ban, obviously, that followed by the likes of Kevin Owens. Adrian Neville was around at the time, Finn Balor, Hideo Itami as well. So, like, they all sort of came through around that sort of core at the same time. But like you say, NXT felt like it was appreciated more when it kind of got through to like the stages of like Brooklyn in 2015, 2016. And that's where, the likes of Sammy had already been called up by that point. So, like you say, probably a missed opportunity. But thankfully, we still get to see some bangers from Sami Zayn in the modern era as well. So obviously, with the likes of Adam Cole, we don't get to see, but certainly some great matches nonetheless. But as we go back into the match, Cesaro again hitting that uppercut, telling Sami to stay down. Sami, though, wouldn't stay down. He actually goes for another haluva kick, but gets a boot to the face. Cesaro then goes for a neutralizer, but is encountered into a code red again for a 2 count. The crowd going mental at this point. Sami kicks out, though, of an uppercut after one once again. Cesaro at this point, though, you can tell he's had enough after actually being kicked out of one from an uppercut. It's an almighty uppercut, and you know what I mean by an almighty one. It's one of those ones where it definitely leaves a mark. And then he lands his finisher, the neutralizer, gets the win there. And both men actually hug it out after the match as well. And Sami has Cesaro's respect. An unbelievable opener to this show. This match goes over 23 minutes and 3 seconds long. And I've got to say, it did not outstay its welcome. I could have happily watched this for another 23 minutes, to be fair.
Absolutely, man. Like I said, if you're going to go back and watch the show, this is the match to go back and watch it for. In fact, you could probably, not to be horrible, but you could turn the show off after this, Woods, because nothing for the rest of the show compares to this match. It's absolutely quality. I would quite happily watch them guys go at it every night.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a different level compared to everything else on the show. But I think, as I said at the start, I think it's a free match show. It's the free main matches that are the ones that stand out. But at the same time, these two do set the bar for what is going to be eventually NXT specials, NXT takeovers. We get used to seeing these matches on a regular now, and this was ultimately the first one that really got to sort of stand out and show, look, this is NXT, we're here, and literally, as the title says, we've arrived. It's an arrival. And honestly, a fantastic match between these two. And what will be your star rating? Obviously, we know that we like to give the star ratings just purely because Dave Meltzer does his as well. And we like to compare them. So go on, what would you give this out of 5 if you could?
Do you know what? I'm going to be generous and I'm going to say a 5 because I think it's a great match. Like if you turn around and say that your first ever live televised match on the network is Sami Zayn versus Cesaro, and that's the quality you get. Do you know what I mean? I think everyone watching that would have been like, oh my God, this is going to be like NXT is going to be the place to watch wrestling going forward. It's just a shame the rest of the show doesn't deliver on the rest of that standard. But yeah, for me, I'm going to say a 5. I think it's quality to have it as an opening match. No, do you know what? I think I've rated it too high now. I'm going to say 4.5. I think the result was wrong. I know that obviously Cesaro is the more established star, but I think Sami. It always seems like Sami is booked to take losses when he should be winning. So for me, I'm going to say a 4.5, just for the fact I think it was a wrong result.
Fair enough. I mean, to be honest, like Sami was always that underdog guy, wasn't he? He was always the one that I think he was the underdog from the underground was his tagline back in the day, and he was always that one you had the sympathy for. He was reminding me like a Shawn Michaels can actually gather that sympathy through defeats, but you got behind him more. So in a way, like I can see your point of view, but in another way, I feel with the Sami that we almost evolved in NXT. I almost feel like maybe actually in the long run, maybe it could have been proven to be a right result. But I'm going to agree with you. I think 4.5 is the bar for this because it's a borderline perfection match. You don't get many more matches better than it. There was a story going in for it as well, a level of respect. But sometimes I think 5-star matches need to be reserved for actual, we're talking the tip-top moments of pro wrestling. And for me, really, like, although this is historic in a way, I don't think it's of the levels of when you compare to some of the real heights of wrestling history. So I'm gonna say for 4.5 for this one. But looking then into what Dave Meltzer has to say, because I would say we get his rating as well, and he's gone into the force a 4.25 star rating. So Dave, not as generous as us, but certainly does sort of agree that this is a top quality match. And let's go into the comments in the meantime, because quite a few have come flying in. We've got Kyle in the house. Kyle, hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday. And going back to the music as well, we talked about the music earlier on at the start here. Shay saying that Paige's theme is the ringtone, is her ringtone today. They had such good songs back in the day, and I've got to say what a great ringtone that is as well. To be fair, you wouldn't miss a call if that one came blaring out, I can tell you.
I think if I remember correctly at the time, I think I had an iPhone at this point as well. And obviously I had iTunes. I think the Paige theme tune was actually the first thing I ever actually bought off the iTunes store, just because it's an absolute banger, man. Like, it was just such a quality song.
truly a great song. It's a great choice, Shay, for a ringtone there. And Ned says he misses the original theme. Bringing it back. Sami and Tyler not having the themes that they were having 2 months at the first takeover, and that's true as well. Obviously, some changes that do come along with those as well, and some improvements do come as we go along with some of the theme tunes. Obviously, Sami Zayn's theme tune massively improves as well. But yeah, I mean, the original theme for NXT was a great one back in the day. Kine here says this is a major time travel. I never thought we'd see a 2014 NXT Arrival review. There you go. I mean, now it's a decade old. It feels weird to say it's a decade old. I'm feeling old, to be fair, saying that sentence, but hey, it's not a good vibe, honestly. Shay says Sami is just an out of this world performer. The athleticism, the passion, the energy, one of the best to ever do it. And to be fair, you cannot argue with that. And that's the beauty of Sami Zayn, especially in that era of NXT. You just felt everything that this guy was doing.
All I'm saying is, Shay, Money in the Bank this year, watch out, because I'm calling it now. Sami Zayn is winning Money in the Bank. That guy has worked too hard for the last 2 years with everything he did with the Bloodline, everything to do at Mania, just everything. That guy deserves a world title shot. So for me, I'm telling you now, he's winning Money in the Bank.
I would not be against that at all. And I've got to say, with those 3 things that describe that athleticism, passion, energy, you know that people would be feeling that if it happens in Toronto later this year. Shane says, you know what's funny? I've been personally rating all the matches from NXT takeovers. I just got to Takeover San Antonio, and this match is still in the top 10 highest rated. That says everything. To be fair, with all the great takeovers there are, to be fair, this shows that this still actually holds up with some of the best out there. And Shay does some fantastic content out there in the wrestling community, so make sure to go and follow her work. In fact, she'll be live actually for bodyslam.net later on this evening with a Meta 2 for NXT review as well. So make sure and go and subscribe over there. Kyan says, my first ringtone was Cena's theme. Love it indeed there. Ba, 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 ba. Yeah, unfortunately, you had to hear me actually do that. That's not good. I'll try not to do the karaoke very often. And after a decade, it's going to be one of the most entertaining shows on WWE. And NXT certainly has, and some great ones as well. Actually, would not be against, by the way, would not be mad at Sami winning Money in the Bank at all. It shows a very popular choice indeed. But well, I'll tell you what, without further ado, if we're all hyped for the idea of having Sami Zayn as Money in the Bank, how hyped would we be talking about, yeah, we're going there, talking about Mojo Rawley, who, let's be fair, and I'm not gonna lie to you, this is a travesty. I don't get mad very often with these things, but it's a travesty. Defeats CJ Parker in like 3 minutes. CJ Parker, for those unaware, is Juice Robinson today. Juice Robinson, unbelievable performer. I've never really been a big Mojo Rawley fan. I've never really been hyped. I've got to be honest. I get hyped in different ways, but not with Mojo Rawley. But hey, just to quickly go through this match nonetheless, there's 2 big splashes in the corner. He lands a jumping ass to the face, because that's the note for it, because I don't know the exact name of the move he's gone for. But then he lands a hyperdrive, which is basically earthquakes, where he just sits them on the ring, running off the ropes to get the 1, 2, 3. And just before that, if anyone wants to know detail, the other 2 minutes, it's basically punch, corner, punch, corner. Not really a lot of meat to the bone. Very quick, not a lot to it. What's your thoughts?
And you can see why Juice Robinson left WWE if he's having to put over Mojo Rawley in these kinds of matches. Just an absolute shambles, man. The fact that Juice Robinson's obviously gone on to do great things in New Japan. He's now and is he part of AEW now, or is he still New Japan? Like, I'm not too sure. Like, I know he's obviously still floating about and doing bits and pieces. I think he's part of New Japan Strong, actually. But yeah, just obviously a great wrestler. There's just, unfortunately, I could never see the appeal of Mojo Rawley. Like, really get hype, stay hype. Is that, like, I don't know, was that a thing 10 years ago? Do you know what I mean? Was that the trend? I never saw the appeal of Mojo. I didn't mind him when he was with Matt Cardona or Zach. I can't even remember his old name now. Zack Ryder, yeah. I didn't mind it when they were a tag team. I was like, they kind of bounce off each other and they kind of work as a chemistry. But yeah, this match is just, it's just trash, man. It's just it's a waste of time putting it on a pay-per-view. If I'm honest, it is the definition of a core. And I'd probably say an Attitude Era's like early Raw match. Do you know what I mean? When the shows used to start and used to get these squash matches in like 2 or 3 minutes, it's best to sum it up.
That's pretty much it. I suppose it's a platform to push someone that you think is going to be a major star in the future. And at one point, they must have had high hopes of Mojo Rawley. It didn't last long, ladies and gents. That's all I can say. But we will say, I don't think we should make this last too long either. What would be your star rating for Mojo Rawley versus CJ Parker? Was it anywhere close to Sami versus Cesaro?
You know what? It's close, but I think I'm going to have to mark it at maybe a 1.5. Like, I don't know, maybe that's too harsh. What do I say? I say 2 is normally the standard for a bog standard match. No, I'm going to have to go 1.5. I think that it's not even like just a normal decent TV match or just a TV match. It's almost like a squash job. So I'll say 1.5.
Yeah, I mean, 1.5 could even go lower. And for me, it's the wrong result as well. Like we said, we knocked us point on wrong result earlier on. So I'm going to go lower. I'm going to go to a 1 here. Like it's unneeded. It's just filler on the show. And to be honest, really, CJ Parker, aka Juice Robinson, deserve a lot better. Shay giving an answer here, by the way, that apparently Juice only AEW now at the moment, and he's out due to a back injury at the moment. Of course, he did have an injury which took him out of the Bullet Club Gold storylines at this present moment. But Kine agrees with you, by the way. The Hype Bros tag team was fire. I still was a bit lukewarm on it as well. I don't know what it is. I just never could get into Mojo Rawley. I don't know why. I don't know why. But I'm on Shay's side here. Juicy, we miss you. Juice card isn't enough.
I could never get into either of them, to be fair, Mojo or Zack Ryder. I think that Zack Ryder was just essentially the same character for, I don't know, 10, 15 years, and he just never changed. And like I said, if you put them together, I think they're more entertaining as a tag team than having them as 2 single stars.
Absolutely, yeah, I can understand that. Indeed, they're kind of giving his take quickly on Money in the Bank. Wants Tiffy Time and Sami Zayn as the Money in the Bank briefcase winners, which, to be fair, wouldn't argue with that, although Chelsea Green would be a good shout as well, just to throw that out there. But hey, we'll move on in the meantime. And hey, we've got to talk about a video package that comes up next now, hyping for the Women's Championship match, or NXT Women's Championship match. A video package of Emma, which she's asked, is she a better dancer or wrestler? Her answer, which is quite clever here: it was wrestling that brought me to the dance. Emma bringing her own entertainment to WWE. Awkward? She prefers more graceful. The evolution has already begun. So, NXT, I'm going to ask your thoughts. What are your feelings of these dance moves right here?
No, dude. Just stop, man. It is god awful. The D's as well is Emma doesn't have any sort of grace or charisma when she's doing it on her entrance. She just looks awkward and uncomfortable, and it's so bad. And the fact that they banged on about her being like WWE's first Australian superstar, and it's like, look at the quality today of your Australian superstars in Rhea Ripley compared to what you were doing 10 years ago. Dude, it is horrific. And the fact that she's essentially copyright stealing stuff from Disney at this point when she's banging on about My Bubbles. Oh no, not for me, man. We can move on from this package because it was awful.
Is it bad that I feel it's that bad? I enjoy it.
Oh, okay, yeah, I knew you would. That seems like the kind of thing you'd enjoy. It's horrific.
I mean, me and William Regal can be on a hill on our own. We enjoyed it. Who does the dance better? Was it me or was it Mr. Regal? I need to know that in the comments.
Dude, I enjoyed William Regal all night up until that point, and I was like, oh my God, you look like someone's dad dancing at a wedding. You look embarrassing. Sit down. You're about 60 years old. Sit down, William.
Oh, God. He's a national treasure, William Regal. He truly is. But we'll move on in the meantime anyway, and we've got an NXT Tag Team Championship match to talk about. And, of course, there are mystery opponents. Anyone to go against Ascension, bring the baddest team you've got. They'll take on anybody because they were a dominant team at this point as well. And the mystery opponents turned out to be a team for the Attitude Era. We mentioned about Attitude Era earlier on with short matches and stuff like that. We brought back Scotty 2 Hotty and Brian Christopher. Too cool were the team that went for this. And of course, William Regal did actually make the comment of, have they never seen the Ascension before? Because if so, they would have already left by now. Of course, this didn't take too long for them to regret this decision. I mean, obviously, essentially showing the power advantage on Brian Christopher up until he can get the hot tag to Scotty 2 Hotty. Scotty attempts to do the worm, but he's countered. He's thrown into the ring rope at the last second. Victor lands a clothesline, which I think was meant to be actually for the Fall of Man setup, but Connor wasn't actually in place in time, so they did a clothesline. Then Connor came into the ring. They did the Fall of Man, which of course Connor then does like a leg sweep at the same time that Victor actually does a spinning elbow and knocks the superstar to the ground, which in this case was Scotty 2 Hotty, and they got the pinfall victory. Of course, this match not the longest one on the show, to be fair, by any means. 6 minutes and 40 seconds. I think it did what it needed to do in putting over the Ascension, obviously beating a credible tag team name from yesterday. And of course, in this time period as well, the New Age Outlaws had returned to WWE and actually tag team champions on the main roster. So to bring to call in, I can see why they had done what they had done. Was it mission accomplished? The Ascension looked stronger here at the end of this?
Did you say credible? What was credible about Too Cool? Their gimmick was they danced. And let's be honest, Scotty 2 Hotty's worm is the most, it's the most overhyped move in all of pro wrestling, I think. And it takes forever to do it. And how the fact that no one ever recovers from it, because he doesn't exactly do anything devastating before to have them lay there for that long. He's can quite happily literally bounce around the ring and then do the worm. It's horrific. And the fact that we have to call him Grandmaster Sex A because, you know, that they spell it with an A instead of an E is just horrific as well. No, dude, this, like, the only plus where this was the Ascension looked dominant, and it's just a shame that their main roster call-up never worked out for them because, dude, thinking about it, they're like, they could have been like essentially what LOD were or what the APA were. Like, they could have been an absolute killer heel tag team. Like, today, if you just stuck them with the likes of Carrion, I think they'd probably fit in better with Karrion Kross now than what Razor and AOP would do. Do you know what I mean? Akam, that's it, and Razor, yeah. I think that aesthetically they would fit in a hell of a lot better, and it's just a shame that it never worked out for them due to some bad booking and making them do jobs for people, man.
Absolutely. To be fair, I mean, JBL was the general manager of NXT at this point, and within 4 weeks of them being called up to Monday Night Raw, they were actually buried by JBL and, of course, all the legends on old school Raw, if I'm not mistaken, back in the day. So they didn't have a good time when they were called up to the main roster. Like you say, all the hard work that was done, they had like a year-long tag team title reign, and it was just ruined in instance. Almost as if like it was the first sort of, you know, finger salute to NXT of like, you want to build these people up, we're going to knock them down when you come bring them up to the main roster. All the hard work you do is going to be wasted. It felt like that certainly in the early years, but I agree with you. They sort of, you know, they made them look dominant, made them look powerful, Too Cool. I meant sort of relevant in the time period rather than actually in 2014. I mean, in 2000 they were tag team champions at one point, but the only thing I will say is missed opportunity on this show. Too Cool and Emma having a dance off in the ring would have been amazing at some point if they could have done that in some way backstage or something like that. It's a missed opportunity, one for the dancing gimmicks over here. But hey, we should dance our way to a star rating. What would be your star rating for this match?
2, just because I feel it was better than what Juice Robinson and CJ Parker and Mojo Rawley put on. So I'll say 2.
I'll go with a 2 as well. I think it served the purpose, and it did that purpose quite well. I think that with the time it was given, double the time of the last match as well. So, you know, I think it was good overall. I think it was okay. I've looked at Dave Meltzer's rating. He has gone for a 1.25 stars. So, you know, Dave kind of feels the same. Not really as stronger than the Mojo Mario match, but perhaps still not to the top levels at this moment.
What was the rating for the Mojo match? I don't think you actually said it.
Did I not say it? 1. Just 1.
Yeah, no, you definitely didn't say it. Yeah. Just
to be fair,
absolute garbage. It doesn't make. This is, I mean, if you look at it and you're like, this is the network and this is their first last show, it doesn't give you a lot of hope for the future if they're planning on doing more of these shows. If, like, in the first 3 matches, 2 of them have been like 1-ish star matches.
Yeah, absolutely. Coin says, I got to say that I love the Adam Cole figure next to the mic because it's all about the boom.
I got 2 of him because I'm greedy. He's multiplied.
I love it indeed. Coin says the Ascension was not for him. He got to say pretty average match, and actually Shane agrees as well. Also, she goes on to say here, I feel the Ascension call-up was what started putting fear into NXT future call-ups' hearts. Heck, it put fear in my heart. And to be fair, I don't think you can argue with that because they feel like the one of the real first like failed stories, especially like we said there, a year-long reign as tag team champions to be called up within 4 weeks to say, no, let's spin this lot off.
Do you know what? I'm sitting there trying to genuinely think about NXT tag team call ups because I don't think a lot of them have ever actually been successful because obviously Heavy Machinery got called up and they broke them up and one of them got released, and then Jason Jordan and Justin Gabriel came up. Is it Justin? No, not Justin Gabriel. Jason Jordan and Chad Gable and Jason Jordan. That's it. Obviously,
That's the one, yeah.
Jordan got the injuries, and then he had to go as a single star. There's not a lot of tag teams that have ever been brought up that have been successful. And then obviously, War Machine, well, they end up being recalled the Viking Experience. Do you know what I mean? So it's not like they've had this. It just seems to be a bit of a curse with the old tag teams.
I think of the Street Profits that have gone on to really be strength to strength at the moment. But there will be other ones, success stories from NXT as well, especially in more modern years. But obviously, when you look back then, it really was a bit of a struggle for a lot of them at the beginning there. I would agree with that wholeheartedly. But we shall move on in the meantime, ladies and gents. And we've got a video package next in for Paige, course, and talking about obviously we're in the divas era of WWE at this point, and she said, she's the anti-diva. That's not her to be someone that's like, tanned, colorful. That's just not her. She's made history becoming the first ever NXT Women's Champion. She said she's in trouble. The trouble is coming her way, but she's all beaten everybody to get this belt. So bring it on, pretty much. I thought there was a effective video package of really hyping up who and what Paige is as a character and what she brings to the table.
Dude, always loved Paige. I mean, I would specifically watch NXT for Paige, and then the year she got called up and she beat AJ Lee on her debut on Raw. Oh man, I popped hard, man. Obviously, because she's British. You know what I mean, she's from our side of the world, and it was kind of like hometown girl spirit, and it was like, yeah, man, just massive thing for part. And like I said, she was just different from every other female star on the roster, and. Do you know what I mean? I think a lot of people obviously are against change, and do you know what I mean? She wasn't blonde and tanned, and do you know what I mean? She was the complete opposite, and that's, do you know what I mean? Being a metalhead, I think, is another reason why I appreciate it more as well.
To be fair, I mean, I felt the same at the time. I was like, this is someone different. Like, she was presented as like someone that's going to go out there and kick someone's butt, and it was all about the in-ring action. It was all about something that was different to what we were seeing at the time, because it felt like a lot of the matches that we were getting at that time in WWE on the main roster were like 2-3 minute squash, or short matches. They weren't even squashes. There were short matches. They weren't given the time, weren't given the opportunity. And it felt like as we go into the next match, now this was one of those first matches where it really felt like this, women's revolution that we were talking about at the time that was coming along. A lot of people have their argument of where it started, where it was, the Bella Twins obviously dominating around the sort of early teens time. Obviously, some are saying the time where we got Charlotte, Sasha, and Becky all called up at the same time, and it was called by Stephanie McMahon. But I always go back to this match, and I think that this is one of those real defining moments, because for me personally, I think this is a hidden gem of a women's match back in this era. I really think it's a really strong match. And obviously, speaking of Stephanie McMahon, she did come out to ringside to introduce, things of the proceedings of the NXT Women's Division, the women's title match as well. Actually hyping as well that this was the first show on the WWE Network, not WrestleMania 30. And of course, she did say that women could do everything that men could do, only better. To be fair, you can't argue with that. Here's the next generation of the women's division. Obviously, we've got Paige versus Emma. But like you say, it does start off in an awkward fashion. Like you say, William Regal dancing to Emmalina at a ringside. But there was one other moment with Regal that was a bit questionable during this match, which I will bring it up on here. He did explain that he's been married 17 times and couldn't find a lady just like these. He said, but the reason he's got a problem with this is because he's addicted to wedding cake.
Hey, it's what goes for humor. I mean, I'm not being funny. There was many times on this show where I'm not Byron Saxton's biggest fan, but my God, his all commentary is like, he would just literally, he couldn't think of anything to say, so he just put everyone else on the spot. Like, they'd be sitting there and all of a sudden he'd just go, William, so what does this do to the body, kind of like? And he's like, yeah, just you someone else talk. I don't want to talk. And it's like, oh, he's unbearable. But yeah, just, dude, I very much doubt he's been married 17 times, but I don't know his full backstory. It might be very true. He might have just gone to 17 weddings in general. Do you know what I mean? That's probably the easier way of getting wedding cake than would be to get married. But dude, it's one of them things with certain parts of commentary. There's always one part of it where someone does or says something dodgy. Like I said, William Regal's dancing alone was enough to put me off. I was like, "No, you're all right." Again, it ties in though with the wedding thing though. Like I said to you, he dances like a dad at a wedding. It makes sense.
Yeah, to be fair, he does tie up the loose ends there. I mean, but he does this quite a lot during his commentary era. I remember that from NXT. He always used to say someone was bigger and badder and made him happy he wasn't in the ring, or it's usually about the fact he'd been divorced many, many times. So there must be clearly something to what he was saying, probably trying to be a bit Jerry Lawler-esque, but it didn't come off the best here. But thankfully, those are the two small minor negatives of this match on commentary. But the rest of it, I can say a bit of glowing review here from me coming up now. So let's see if NXT agrees with me as well, because both of them very aggressive at the beginning of this match as well. We see Paige immediately straight into Emma's face, show that anti-diva as well, not mucking around with the dancing gimmick as well, straight into one another as well. Both seem to know each other quite well as well. So they had wrestled before in the final, the Crown, the first of NXT Women's Champion as well. I believe that was back in August 2013, and of course Paige had won that match then at that point, but countering each other's moves. So the Paige turner was countered, the Emma sandwich was countered as well. That's when she does the splash to someone sitting in the corner, and the Emma lock as well, the submission that she has also. But she does actually manage to get though the deal Emma. Which of course is the more famous than the tarantula in the corner, which then she does get to hit the Emma sandwich onto Paige in the corner there as well. So with the early parts of this match here, obviously when you saw that these women knew each other quite well, Emma had found a way to get an advantage in the match as well. Obviously not Paige, also off the apron as well at one point to the hardest part of the ring, and that they were saying about Paige's back as well and how she would cope afterwards with this. What were your thoughts with the early stage? I thought for me it was quite intense.
It is, but for me, the biggest thing that lets this match down, which this is what struggled for me to be invested in, was that the crowd weren't invested. Like, it's not like they just come off of watching Cesaro and Sami Zayn. They just come off of the Ascension versus Too Cool, and they felt flat. And it was like, obviously, they have to react to. Obviously, these guys, when they're in the ring, they react to how the crowd is feeling, and there's only so much they can do before they're going to need a reaction of some kind, where they're going to need just a chant or something, or a cheer or something, but the crowd are flat, and I think that's what let them down, really, because you're right, it is intense, and they do, like, it is a well worked match. It's just a case of that it doesn't feel like it was reciprocated with the audience in attendance, but I don't know, maybe it's just me, but like I said, I thought it was. I'd say the match in general was just a good match, but it's just, I don't know. Like I said, it felt flat just due to lack of participation from the audience.
I think, like you said, they've gone through those couple of matches there, and obviously the job now is to pick them back up. Obviously, it's a bit like as we like to say sometimes, a bit of a roller coaster. You start building your way up, and you go down for the big, whoa. Obviously, which we had with Sami and Cesaro, which took you on a ride. Then you kind of build the anticipation back up again. We had those two sort of squash matches, if you will. Now we're sort of going to try it again now with the women's match here, but obviously it's to a point, like you say, they have to work hard to get everybody on side, but towards the end of the match they do, which is really good, because we get the "this is awesome" chant towards the end of the match. And obviously I don't remember at that time period that happening much previously, and that's usually why I sort of tie this in with one of those like women's revolution, that this is almost like a starting place for it, almost because of the fact that you really, the women had to work hard, because they're used to seeing matches on the main roster that go for like 2-3 minutes, where people, we've had the great talents before them that just had to really work hard. Obviously some would get breakout times, and maybe the odd Trish Stratus match, odd Victoria match, Mickie James, but they had through eras as well, where they were on shows with I remember Mickie James and Melina on a show we reviewed like about a year ago or something. They had like about 6 minutes to work with. It's not enough to really tell a good story in that time here. And when you look with this match here with these two ladies, it's 13 minutes long. There's enough time to really give that sort of proper serving that you have when you go to like these shows, because you kind of get like the build at the start, you get the portion in the middle, and then you get that sort of ending third where everything, all the excitement kicks in and stuff like that. And I think these days have the time to tell that story, and I think it really does convey. And obviously by the end of the match, I think everyone's on their full feet, because they're really happy with what they've actually been delivered here from Paige and from Emma. But to just go back into a bit more detail, some of the match, if you don't mind, Steve, obviously one of the big moments here where I think actually the crowd start to get involved actually is when Paige attempts a superplex from the top rope, and we see Emma counter it. She does a sunset flip, and then she sort of just power bombs brutally Paige into into the mat and actually gets a 2 count as well. And this is when the crowd really starts to buy into it, because we get Amethysta chants coming from the crowd, which I thought was really, really fun.
Yeah, like I said, do you know what it is? I think it's the fact that I forget how badly women's wrestling used to be portrayed like 10 years ago. Like, obviously, they had the whole revolution thing, and like, my brain is so in tune with how women's wrestling is presented nowadays, not like on WWE anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like, that we've just had 2 women main event a pay-per-view in Australia. Do you know what I mean? So it's a different time, and like I said, I just don't know. It's almost like I just don't want to go back to that point where women's wrestling isn't enjoyed as much as men's wrestling. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, as you said, to get back to the match anyway, it's yeah, like I said, I'm glad that they like the crowd like they finally start to get into this, because like I said, it's not like it's been a bad match. It's been a decent match. And the spot itself as well. I tell you what, it does look brutal. Like it's one of them power bombs that you're kind of like, oh, that looks a bit rough. Do you know what I mean? And it was like, I think I'd be upset with taking that as well, because it did look painful.
It did look painful indeed there. But of course, Paige was always known for being a hard hitter, and I guess to take those shots as well, she was probably up for it back then as well. But obviously, she does take a Paige turn on Emma. Obviously, that was the move that won her the NXT Women's Championship, of course, back in August of 2013. But this time, Emma does kick out at 2. That's whether this is awesome chants begin from the crowd as well, which is fun to see. But Paige says, no, I'm not letting this go any further. And William Regal, thank you for actually commentating on this show, because I don't think I would have known what this move was without him calling it. A scorpion crosslock is what Paige applies here to Emma, where Emma has nowhere to go. Literally, she's just hanging in the air with all her arms and legs sort of being tangled in, and obviously eventually just has to tap out as well via submission. Again, a respect factor and a hug after the match as well, but a bit more of an aggressive hug, as we've seen from Paige in through the matches and through the past of the anti-diva that she's as well. But for me, I thought it was a great end to the match, and a really unique submission move, one that we don't see very often in wrestling. Even today, I don't know anyone that uses that currently.
Yeah, no, it's kind of her move. I think that she renamed it to the Paige Tap Out before obviously leaving and going on to AEW. But it's a great submission move. I think I've only seen, maybe one other person use it. I think it might have been someone like one of the like a Joshi wrestler or something, someone from Stardom or someone like that use it. It's a very unique submission move in itself. But yeah, it's like I said, do you know what I mean? At the end of this match, it feels like with that hug alone, that it's almost like you can tell that they've been like between them. They're like, we've had our time to shine. Like they've put on a killer match. And do you know what I mean? It's hopeful for the things that going forward in the future, and like the quality of wrestling that we do get over the space of the next 10 years just gets a hell of a lot better. And like the fact that the women's wrestling in general just changes. They start getting their own things, like they start getting their own rumbles, their own chamber matches, and they start giving them the opportunities to do everything the guys can do. And yeah, I can see where you're coming from by saying like this is like sort of like the beginning of that, because this is what NXT was about changing what WWE was broadcasting to the world, instead of getting Attitude Era style matches where it's just 10 2 or 3 minute matches of a night and it's kind of like boring. This is what Triple H was trying to do and make a better product in general. Like you said, we just had that quality like match with Cesaro and Sami Zayn, and like it was down to these two to do the same for the women's division and give people a reason to come and watch women's wrestling. And it does do that. It's just like I said, I think at the time, again, that crowd just, it kills me, because it's like it was a good match, and it just bums me out that, like I said, I think there was a moment like 2 minutes into the first match with Sami and Cesaro, and the crowd are going, "This is awesome," and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, "So, dude, it's been 2 minutes. They've not really done anything, and you've got 'This is awesome' chant. You've got these two girls who are doing more things in a wrestling ring than a lot of generations have done before them, and you know what I mean, they just felt flat, and it was killing me, man. I can't. I know I've banged on about it for a couple of minutes now, but it's like I can't get over it. Like, I'm just glad that we're not at that point anymore where women's wrestling is frowned upon. Like, you and me have spoke yesterday or day before about certain things that have gone out online about character portrayal outside of the ring, and it's kind of, and we're talking about a certain female wrestler, and it's like, dude, these guys need to stop talking like the business was 30-40 years ago, where when you went in the building as a heel, you left as a heel, and you went that way. And it's like, I don't know, man, I'm waffling now, but yeah, I just like, I'm just glad that we don't have to go through that time again where women's wrestling is such a almost like a burden on a TV show. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. The thing is, where you're coming from with that is that, things have evolved and they move forward. And I think that this is a match that was a platform for that, because when you look at it, like you said, they had to work hard to get it. But obviously, at the end of it, everyone went, wow, that was brilliant. And this was talked about at the time. And this didn't lead long before Paige got her call up as well to the main roster. She was Divas champion and the NXT Women's Champion around at the same time. She had to relinquish, if I'm not mistaken, that championship also to JBL back in 2014, which then, of course, Charlotte went on to win. And then we started getting the birth of the four horsemen, where we got Charlotte, we got Sasha, we got Bayley, and we got Becky. And all of a sudden, before you knew it, like you say, the levels just went up and up and up. And you mentioned about now have Royal Rumbles, now have Elimination Chambers. How about a show where going towards WrestleMania main events? Back then, we had to wait 35 years for one to happen, but we got it. And obviously, it just goes to show now. And we've had since Bianca and Sasha obviously do that at WrestleMania 37. There could be a call again where there'll be more of them in the future. And obviously, they're now main eventing Raw, SmackDown on a weekly basis as well. And you look back and say, where does those moments come from? And this is one of them. This right here, when you go back to it, I think historically, you look into it and say that is a moment, because they had to work hard for that. And there was a reward at the end of it. And that reward clearly was seen backstage. And then backstage, obviously, Triple H would have had that vision as well. Obviously, the likes of Fit Finlay as well has been a great proponent for women's wrestling as well. And you've just seen it go from level to level to level. And the thing is now, it gets to a point where, you can't argue. Like you say, you're probably conditioned now, because the women's matches are as good, if not sometimes, a lot of the time could be even better than the men. I know the last couple of WrestleManias, when I watch it, what's my favorite match? It's usually, a women's match. I know yours last year was Rhea versus Charlotte. For me, it's the year before that was Bianca versus Becky Lynch. It's right there. It just goes to show where the standards, the bar, it keeps raising all the time. And hey, I'm now waffling, but this historically is a platform of where it happened, where it came from. And we say, got 13 minutes to shine. These ladies did it. And I think this is a point, NXT, where I have to say, before we go to our comments, let's get a star rating for you on this match.
I'm trying to think now. I'm probably going to say a 3.5. I said it is a good match. I just think that they've probably had better matches since. So I said it's still a good match, but I'd say a 3.5.
I think 3.5 is a fair rating. I'm going to go with the same for it, for 3.5, because brutal moves. I think the pacing was good for this one as well. I think for everything that was done, this was no, it didn't drag, and I think it was a really good showing from what was put on there. But we've explained that in a lot of detail already. But we'll go there for Dave Meltzer's rating. It's only got 2 3/4 stars for this one, but hey, we're going to give a much higher rating for that one. But we will go into the comment section, and we're going to first off call up Shay's comments. Says that she's a big fan of wrestlers who don't fit the normal look, and some would say that is the ideal look. I love the authenticity. Paige was that for me. Such a fan, and to be fair, like we said, we both were a big fan of Paige as well back in the day. Of course, the pause help after that William Regal joke. Yeah, to be fair, that awkward silence I think was almost intended. It was very awkward, but it was kind of awkward watching it as well, to be fair, at that moment. Shada's also going to say preach as well there, with obviously the way that we've seen women's wrestling evolve as well, and power to that as well. And she goes and say right before, it felt like they were we've got to find a way to squeeze women on the card, whereas today it is a must that they are on the card. It absolutely is a must, and I think it's beautiful to see as well, because let's be fair, they steal the show a lot of the time as well.
Yeah, especially with like Bianca Belair, and Jade Cargill as well. Bianca, obviously, I've watched since her days in NXT, and her work as a heel was great. And then you add that with what she can do in a ring, and her physicality, and the fact that she's got all this power behind her, and she's able to do certain things. And the same with Rhea, and then same with Jay, just like absolutely able to break barriers and just lift the platform for women and make them stand, like especially like Bianca up until what was it, Mania last year. She'd had a killer run as champion, and she'd been doing everything. Like she has basically become like a face for WWE, and she's done so much work outside of the business, which is, do you know what I mean, just phenomenal stuff. And then you've got Becky, who's releasing a book next month. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, you imagine 10 years ago there was none of this, and it's great to see, man. Like I said, I'm glad that the industry has changed and fans have changed, and it's now a lot more better thing. And like, even other people like Bayley, for instance, like when Bayley was in NXT and she had a demographic position and she was there to appease to like 6 to 12-year-old girls, but it was like she had her spot. And the good thing with that is Bayley's character has now changed, but I feel that that's almost like, you know, when a child hits puberty, and it's kind of like that was Bayley's point of puberty. It was like her character, her heel turn, and it's like, it's just great to see, man. Like, people have grown up with these people now over the last 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, and it's good to see, man. Like I said, I'm just glad that it's not going to go back to the way it was, where, do you know what I mean, women were, as like I said, almost a burden on the industry.
Absolutely, obviously, yeah, like you said, Bayley, it's always evolved her character as well, and that's why she's always gone the next level each time that she's gone up as well. And it's awesome. It really, really is. And yeah, long may it continue is all we can say about that. But obviously that is Paige versus Emma for the NXT Women's Championship. But we'll move on. In the meantime, there's a small video package for Adrian Neville, his ability to fly with the red arrow as well. He said he hadn't been in a ladder match before, but he says it would suit him and it would become his speciality. But we'll move on to the next match, or should we say a next match? There really wasn't one. Xavier Woods versus Tyler Breeze, ending in a no contest. Before this match could even start, we got Alana and Alexandra Rusev coming to ringside. Rusev actually destroying both of these guys as well. And of course, then we see Lana get on the microphone as well. And with the Russian accent as well, back in the day, who remembers that? Says that he is the super athlete and he is the next generation. And then, of course, Rusev cutting a promo in Bulgarian as well. And yeah, to be fair, your thoughts? So there's not really a star rating you can give for this match, really. But for the beatdown, obviously, you're pushing Rusev, going to be one of the future stars. What were your thoughts of it?
Oh dear. Three things. One, I forgot Rusev actually had a first name. Another one that I was like given the curse of losing his name when he came up to the main roster. Two, Xavier Woods having what was his name? Brutus. What's his name? Brutus Clay's theme tune, because he come out and I was like, hang on a minute, this is someone else's music. So I was like, okay, that's been reused afterwards. And then three, just when you said Lana with a fake Russian accent, I just remembered the whole transition she went through where she lost the accent in about 2 weeks. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. Oh my God, it was horrific. But yeah, do you know what? I was actually really excited for the match because I was like, oh my God, these guys have had a history going back like 10 plus years. Like, these two were wrestling each other in NXT. And yeah, I was like, oh, this will be quality, and we didn't get it. And I was actually really gutted that we didn't get the match, because I'm sure it would have been killer.
Yeah, it would have been great to have got it, but unfortunately it wasn't to be. But yeah, I mean, it's a shame. But yeah, Brutus Clay's theme tune, Someone Called Mama, was always a banger back in the day. Always had fun times listening to that one. But hey, we'll move on in the meantime. There's not really much more to share on it, unfortunately. We've got a video package for Bo Dallas for us next now. It says doesn't drink water unless he has a glass. Bless him. It says you can find Bo levers everywhere. Those who say no more Bo, well, they just want to get to know their NXT champion better. Everyone who faces Bo becomes a Bo lever. And obviously, we're following that with a video package for Neville versus Bo. Where neither man have been in a ladder match, but they're ready to compete to win. Basically, it was kind of a nothing video package, really. But your thoughts of Bo Dallas being presented? I mean, obviously, again, a character, an NXT champion of over 200 days at this point as well. What were your thoughts of the presentation for Bo Dallas here?
Let's be honest, right? WWE have a habit of trying to rehash certain characters. Like, we've had, obviously, Hulk Hogan as the all-American hero, and we've seen that over the last 40 years where Vince has tried to bring someone else in as that all-American hero. And I've just realized that NXT have this habit of trying to make redneck characters, like just people that are from Midwest, and like when someone's got the name of Bo, I'm like, yeah, that's a pretty Midwest name. And then you've got, and I'm thinking about it now, and I'm like, you've got Brooks and Jensen. I'm like, oh my God, those guys literally portray cowboys. And I'm like, I don't know, man. It's just I'm like someone in creative just needs to get over these ideas and just be, look, dude, you've been trying for 10 years, it don't work, just move on. But I was not a believer, if I'm honest. I was I don't know why. I just think it was just a cheap joke. Like it was just a cheap character that I just never, unfortunately, could get behind with Bo Dallas. Like I said, if you've seen me on this show before, he does. I think it's the Marine 4, and his character in the Marine 4 when he plays like some badass like biker gangster. I was like, that should have been Bo Dallas, man. That should have been the guy we got on TV because he'd have got over so much better.
I mean, I was never a believer either. I just found the gimmick a bit goofy for my liking, and I know that's the point. That is the point of the gimmick, but it doesn't usually scream main eventer or champion. So it's kind of a surprise almost when he's been the champion for so long in NXT through this period. But obviously, it felt like a change was needed, and would we get a change in that main event? Obviously, Shawn Michaels comes out with the NXT Championship. Obviously, before the ladder match starts, the crowd go mad for him, going shouting one more match, and HB Shizzle as well. Shawn says that we need a T-shirt for HB Shizzle, which the crowd pop for as well. And also says that the one more match, well, we'd have to get in shape to do that. And he's kind of liking how he was at the time. But he says he's thrown off by the promo a little bit because the crowd are going a bit mad and he's not used to doing these all the time anymore. But he promotes his DVD and knowing something about ladder matches and Mr. WrestleMania. He hypes up the main event saying a start will be made here. So then we get the introduction of both stars for said ladder match. And obviously, we'll go into the bit of the detail of the match. It's a very fast-paced beginning. Obviously, Neville doing his cartwheels in a very quick pace. In fact, so quick that you can't even blink to keep up with them. And does a drop kick. Neville goes for the red arrow very early, but Dallas rolls out of the ring. Dallas then ties Neville's leg in the ring rope, which I thought was quite a creative spot early on, so he can go out and get the ladder. But he thought he'd had all the time in the world to do so. Does it very slowly. As he gets the ladder back to the ring, Neville then hits a baseball slide. So obviously Dallas goes flying to the floor, and then we see Neville do a dive over the top rope as well. What were your thoughts with the early pacing of this match? Because already there's kind of a creative spot there with obviously Neville having his leg tied in with the top rope. Both he can go and get there, but obviously just the pace and the sheer quality of Adrian Neville as well. Obviously he's the amount of gravity forgotten. To be fair, clearly early on he's showing he live up to that name in this ladder match.
It's like he doesn't have a play button. He just constantly is on fast forward. I think that's why I really liked Neville, because it just like even when he was 205 champion, just everything he done, like he was just exciting to watch and just was able to just again, this is why I'm a big fan of cruiserweights. They're just able to do certain things that the bigger guys can't do, and it's always exciting, and like you're always looking forward to seeing if they do something you've never seen before. Like you said, even with the things like the being tied up in the rope, like it's a thing only probably a cruiserweight could do because of the angle and all that. Like you imagine doing that on a big guy that's like 350 pounds. It's not really going to work. So always exciting to see, man. Yeah, just I said Neville's just an exciting character. Like he's still doing it now as Pac, but I think he's injured at the minute, so we're not getting alerts. That's why he's not been on AEW at all, is he?
No, he has not in recent times, sadly. Obviously, been injured for quite a while now, but obviously, he did have an advantage then, obviously, at this point, doing that dive over the top rope here, but didn't last for very long because Dallas does push Neville into the steel steps. Dallas then actually runs the ladder down the ramp to try and actually hit Neville, but Neville ducks at the last second. So we kind of get like a smooth sliding ladder into the ring there. Couldn't have been done more perfect if he tried. But Neville then does a backdrop to Dallas on the floor. Neville climbs the ladder, but Dallas actually hits Neville with a ladder to knock him off. We then find Neville trapped underneath the ladder, obviously, kind of like the sort of arm and neck area to one side of the ladder, the other bit over what seems to be over the body to a certain degree as well. Both Dallas begins to climb up, but there is a way that Neville manages to get himself free a little bit, use his legs to sort of push and get the ladder off so Dallas can hit the ring ropes as well. Neville then lands a tornado DDT using a ladder that's actually in between the ring ropes in the corner as leverage as well. That was a fun looking spot between these guys here. Bo then goes for a running bulldog, which actually goes onto a ladder but is countered, and Bo's actually pushed back into that turnbuckle as well, face first into the ladder. So that's kind of like the middle portion of the match. Obviously the ladder is getting good use here. Both guys are getting chances of getting offenses going a bit backwards and forwards as well. Was you actually getting into this ladder match at this point?
Dude, ladder matches from the start I'm always invested in, because I'm all, like, again, another reason why you should watch these matches, because you're always expecting to see something new that they haven't seen before. I'm a massive fan of the whole pinning them with the ladder and watching them try and get out of it. And like I said, the way Neville does it, because he uses his feet, again, something can only probably hit someone of his physique and size could probably do. Just always good. And just again, it's always fun to see how they do unique things with these ladders, like how they're going to position them, what they're going to attempt to do, how they're going to try to get out stuff. A lot of it is pretty same, but like I said, it's always fun watching one of these stipulation matches, just because it's just like you always expect to see something crazy, like especially with like even with things like, I know it wasn't as bad as what it looked, but even when Bo comes off that ladder and he hits the ropes and then the ladder hits him afterwards, it's like, do you know what I mean? It's just it's always like, you're always expecting something to go wrong, or do you know what I mean, or plan to go wrong. But it's this exciting match, man. You can't go wrong with ladder matches.
It's an unpredictable factor, and I think that's what makes these matches always a lot of fun. And like you say, there's certain parts and elements that can be done in these matches which are unpredictable, new, exciting, and even some classic moments as well. We kind of feel like I like that when they add those sort of elements into the match. I mean, for me, one of the highlights there, just using the ladder even for basic moves, the fact like the tornado DDT that's done as well, I think is really well executed there. Obviously, both guys hit the move perfectly, but just the fact the ladder's involved as well. It's just it's minor touches of using the prop to just show, well, this is why it's a ladder match. You know, it's just fun into that sort of element there. But as we go into the final sequences of the match, then obviously Neville on top at this point, he's going to go for his red arrow, but he's sent flying to the floor. Bo gives a smile as he goes then for the NXT Championship. Again, Finley's got all the time in the world, it feels, Bo here, with that sort of geeky, goofy looking smile that he has as well there. He's Bo leaving, he's walking away NXT champion, but Neville quickly responds actually by springboarding on the ropes and then jumps ahead of Bo onto the ladder above him, closer to the NXT championship. We see Bo actually grab Neville and actually attempt to do a German suplex off the ladder, which would have been brutal had that been executed, but thankfully for Neville, he'd elbow Bo off of the ladder, but Bo then actually grabs onto Neville and actually uses the buckle bomb in him, which again, another brutal looking spot, aka a bit of a Seth Rollins move at this moment. Bo runs though with the ladder to Neville, but Neville gets the legs up, and then Bo gets slammed onto the ladder, and whilst Bo is then put onto that ladder, he remains there. We see a red arrow from Neville from the top rope, a beautiful executed red arrow as well from the top, and Bo just rolls to the floor. Adrian starts to climb the ladder, and just as he's towards the top, Bo makes a last-ditch attempt to get back into the ring to try and get to the ladder to stop Neville from grabbing the NXT Championship. But like I say, too little, too late. We've got a brand new NXT champion in Adrian Neville. And of course, watching in the crowd and applauding as this show is going off the air is one Mr. John Cena. What were your thoughts then, overall, then, with the ladder match there with Adrian Neville becoming new NXT champion over Bo Dallas?
I hate to be the critique, but I thought the finish was a bit slightly underwhelming. Like, you obviously had Neville climbing the ladder and Bo gets in and he gets to the bottom rungs of the ladder, and the way Neville, like, he doesn't sell that he's struggling to climb a ladder. He's kind of just up there and he just takes the belt off. It was almost as if, like, you get the feeling he'd almost got into business for himself and he wasn't supposed to win, and he was like, no, I'm definitely winning this. It's just the pace of it. Like I said, the guy doesn't have a play button. He's always on fast forward. So I suppose that's my own fault, really, but hey, that's just me. But otherwise, yeah, just a fantastic match. It's an okay ladder match. It's not the best ladder match I've ever seen. There is better ones in the future in NXT. It's just obviously with Shawn Michaels being there, it was kind of like, again, this is the first ever live show. It was just something to, do you know what I mean? Really, I think this is like, it's used as a gimmick to just draw the crowd in and be like, oh, okay, you don't know who half these people are, but we are having a ladder match, and you know what ladder matches are like, and I presume that's what this was done. But like I said, the guys delivered. It was a good match. And like I said, I'm glad Neville won, because that's just, it's one of them things that he probably deserved for all his time in WWE, like everything he achieved and everything he went on to do, and yeah, just one of them things.
For me, I agree with what you say there. I think this match is a good ladder match. It's not a great ladder match. I think that's what I would say here. It's obviously a first time for both of these guys, and that, you know, I think that reading the stuff here and sort of playing the match back in my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, no, that was good, and that was good. But it's like when I was watching it, I was feeling like I'm enjoying this, but I'm not as wowed as what I'd seen earlier. Like when we go with Cesaro, Sami Zayn was an incredible opener, and like I said, I was a really big fan of the women's championship match as well. I thought this match was fine. I mean, Adrian Neville, like you say, he's flawless in what he does. I'm not sure Bo Dallas suits a ladder match, if I'm being brutally honest. I don't know, maybe because the ladder match is just it's evolved a lot over the years. Obviously, we had like in the 90s, it was always like the power play and the one high fly. You know, we look at Shawn and Razor, for example, classic ladder matches like that. But these days, we're used to being massive spot fest, and Neville fits a spot fest of a ladder match where someone like Bo Dallas, it's more like the slow executed kind of like lift the ladder up, do your classic sort of attacking moves, which to be fair to some, they would probably enjoy it a lot more. But I think for me, like you say, just kind of what I know now to compared to what maybe I knew then, I kind of feel maybe I'm going to downgrade it now to maybe what I would have felt back in 2014. But I do agree with the finish as well. It kind of felt like as soon as the red arrow was hit, there was no coming back, and there was no tension as Neville was going to get that championship. It kind of felt like, well, he's won. That's it. He's won. There's no like, will he get back? Will he not go back? But, you know, Bo is literally at the bottom of the ladder when the title was taken off. It's not as if he's had a chance to climb one or two rungs. And like you say, if Neville just kind of sold a couple of injuries from the match a little bit, I think it just would have added just that small bit of dramatic tension at the end there, which would have just maybe just upped the ante of the finish a little bit. Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah, that's me nitpicking as well, kind of agreeing with your thoughts there. What would be a star rating for Adrian Neville and Bo Dallas?
I'm going to say a 3.5 again. I think that, like I said, it's a ladder match. You can't really go wrong with gimmick matches. We had some decent spots in it. It just, like I said, there was just certain parts of it, like the finish was too quick. Just slow it down a bit. Just sort of outpace themselves. And yeah, I'm not going to know. I'm trying to say, well, am I being too harsh now? In the women's match, I'm thinking like maybe it should be. No, I'm going to say 3.25. I would say the women's match was better just for the fact that it was a wrestling match. And like I said, if you have Cesaro and Sami go on first, and I've given that 4.5, and that was just a wrestling match, I'm going to say 3.25 for this one.
I've lost the feed just a little bit towards the end there, but
sorry.
But could you just repeat?
Just say because it was a 3.25. It's 3.25 from me. Just I think that having a wrestling match is a 4.5 at the start, and for a ladder match, we'll say 3.25.
Fair play, fair play. Apologies if any issues on my end there, but I will give it a 3-star myself. Like I said, I think it's good. I think it's great. So, you know, but I feel it's an enjoyable match. I'd say if you're going to go watch this show, obviously those are the 3 matches you mentioned earlier on. This ladder match, obviously, Paige and Emma for the women's championship, and of course the opener Cesaro at Sami Zayn. Those are the 3 matches you need to go and watch out. And I thought it was a nuts touch with John Cena being in the crowd at the end of the show, obviously being the top WWE guy at the time. They'd sort of show his appreciation for what the future of the company will be. But if you think of a score rating out of 10, NXT Arrival, what would it be?
I'm probably going to say a 5. And like you said, it's a 2-hour show and only half of it's any good. So I'm going to go straight down the middle.
Oh, that's kind of fair to be honest. I will go slightly higher though. I'm going to go for a 6, just because of the fact that at least the filler matches or the other matches, they're not very long. Obviously, you look and go, Breeze and Woods didn't even happen, and the other 2 matches, I think 10 minutes between them, probably 15, 17 matches with entrances. So I'm going to go for slightly high. I'm going to go for a 6 out of 10 with the whole show. But if you're going for the 1-hour edition with just those 3 matches, this gets a lot higher bumper rating. I'd say it'd be even like a 7.5.
By all means, if you're going to go and watch this on the network, just watch the 1-hour one. Don't watch the 2-hour one.
Yeah, I would recommend that. Would recommend that highly indeed there. But any final thoughts before we wrap up the stream today?
No, man. Like I said, it's fun to go back and watch old stuff like this, just for the fact that, like you said, you see how old wrestlers physically present themselves, what their music was like, what their in-ring style was like. So yeah, it's always fun to go back and watch some of the old stuff sometimes. So I enjoyed this.
Certainly. Yeah, I absolutely did. Sorry, it went a little bit for a second there as well. So sorry if I did cut into you there at any point there. But yeah, literally, I feel the same. It's fun to go back and watch this. Obviously, what would link to become the future of NXT as well? That this would actually build into takeovers of the black and gold era of NXT, which everyone would love and say is one of the best periods of wrestling. The people that have evolved through NXT throughout that time, of course, now Raw and SmackDown filled with NXT stars as well. So to show what it's become, this really was truly an arrival. If you look at it, it's a massive success story of WWE, the first ever show on the WWE network, the first ever PLE there. And to be fair, the first of many. We've got there for well over a decade. And of course, for those in the States, already see Peacock has already got the rights for it. WWE Network does not exist. But for the rest of us, we have until the end of 2024 to enjoy it. Of course, going to Netflix at the end of the year. But to be fair, talk about the end of the year. We're now at the end of the stream. I want to say a big thank you to everyone who has been watching today. If you have been commenting as well, massive thanks to you for keeping us here, keeping us company. We always enjoy your comments. And a big thank to NXT as well, also, who always takes the time out to watch these shows and come on and review them with me as well. A big thank to everyone that's watching as well on delay. Thank you for taking the time to check out this review, and make sure to hit the like button as well if you've enjoyed it. Share with a friend as well. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Look after yourselves and each other, and we'll be back for our next SCW Rewind review in a couple of weeks' time. Of course, our subscribers have voted WrestleMania 20, you controversial bunch. So look forward to that. And if you want more old school shows in the meantime, make sure to go and check out the playlist that is available right now. Plenty of shows you can go and check out from yesteryear from the network. Take care. Thank you for watching. Look after yourselves, and we'll see you for the next video.